at this fairy tale beauty. I'm in the historical center of Prague. It's an old town square. By the way, did you know that the whole neighborhood of the old town square in Prague is protected by UNESCO? And today I'd like to tell you another story. It's also about UNESCO, but it's about another neighborhood in Odessa, in Ukraine. It's also protected by this organization, but it was ruined today by Russians, just overnight, on the 23rd of July 2023, in the 21st century. Hi everyone, my name is Olga, and I'm a tour guide from Kyiv, Ukraine. Today I'd like to tell you the sad story, how one country can demolish the historical heritage of its neighbors. And you might tell me that this already happened in the history and many times. And you're right, but this story is happening today. It happened this night in Ukraine. And the whole of Ukraine is crying tears with Odessa today. I created the video about the revenge that Russia started to make after the Crimean Bridge was hit a few days ago. And Russians are just ruining the cities on the south of Ukraine. They target the port infrastructure, the port facilities, to make sure that we will never be able to sell our crops and transport our grain. But today they made something completely outrageous. They did something that we could never think about. They ruined the whole historical center of the beautiful southern city of Odessa. It is situated on the Black Sea, and this neighborhood was also protected by UNESCO. 25 architectural monuments, they were built during different eras, and Russian terrorists overnight demolished everything. On the Russian TV channels, we can hear that they have the new plans. They have the disgusting plans to ruin Kyiv, Lviv, and Odessa completely, but just want to leave Odessa Opera Theater. Russians sent a cocktail of rockets, 19 different rockets to ruin that complex of buildings. And they also ruined one of the most amazing cathedrals in Ukraine. During this attack, they demolished Odessa's largest Orthodox church. It is called the Transfiguration Cathedral. It was built in 1808. It was blown up by Bolsheviks in 1936, and it was rebuilt by the independent Ukraine. But this missile sent by Russians hit the altar. And this country is still in the United Nations. The country that is targeting the UNESCO protected cathedrals is in the United Nations. How come? How can they still be the member of the world organizations and doing such horrific terroristic attacks? It's the country that is just brutally destroying the historical monuments. Odessa had a special vibe, a special story. They ruined the heart and the spirit of this colorful city, which has the centuries-old history. And civilian died, 2 people died on the spot, 19 people, including kids, are in the hospital. So much pain to the people. I don't have words to describe what we feel about this terrorism. I'm sorry, but I need to tell you that I feel that the world got used to Russian terror. Starting from the May, we got a lot of attacks in different cities, in major cities. The attacks were constant, they're just changing the location. And when I try to make posts on Facebook about the war, these posts are deleted or not approved. Yes, it's not fun to watch the horrors of the real war, but the world must not get used to these barbaric invasions and to Russian terror. We must defeat it all together. Ukraine can't defeat just by itself. How it's possible? It's possible with the system of air defense and with the influence of Russia. Today, with the help of our allies, these air defense systems that They already saved thousands of lives, but it is not enough for Ukraine. They are bombing our cities, and for our entire territory to close the sky and to save the lives of the communities, we need more air defense systems, because currently more people are dying. And in the different social media channels, Russians are proudly posting the videos of those moments when they were sending those missiles to Odessa. What do they have in the heart? What do they have? The God? I think that nothing sacred is for those people who are demolishing the churches and historical heritage. Before the war in Ukraine, we had kind of neutral attitude towards the Russians. Many people in Odessa speak Russian, and now when they brought so much suffering and ruinations, Ukrainians just want them to pay for every ruined building. Unfortunately, it's not possible to pay for all the lost lives. Russian Ministry of Defense has come up with a strange, cynical reason for the strike on Odessa, because they claimed that they have struck the facilities where the terrorists, Ukrainian terrorists, are preparing the maritime drones, and where we're producing the unmanned boats for striking Crimea Bridge. It's not true, of course. The Church of Transfiguration is not the place where we produce the drones. And what is the reason? What is the reason behind these attacks? Why they are doing it? The attacks are done to force Ukraine to kind of leave the grain market, because Putin wants to sell his own grain, and he wants to take our place on the market. And the Western countries don't see Putin negotiating at all. He needs just the war. His regime needs the war state. He doesn't need victory. He knows that the world will not let him have the victory, but he needs a permanent war state to continue to rule. Unfortunately, he has resources for this. He has the resources to continue the war even next year and a couple of years. He doesn't have any plans. It's just he wants to break everything which doesn't belong to him. And when the Russians destroyed the port, when they destroyed the infrastructure there, they will offer us the grain deal on their own terms and conditions, and say something like, oh, you don't have ports, you don't have enough time to fix them. Well, it's not our business. We bombed your ports infrastructure. We burnt all your grain, because they have already burnt 60,000 tons of grain, 100 tons of barley, and 20 tons of peas. And that's all. Now we can enter into trade. This is the grain deal on our conditions. That is what is happening. I understand that it's actually the new tactics of Russia to hit the cities, and then to cause as much damage as possible to the cities, and then to make the grain deal. And unfortunately, I think that Odessa is not the last one in the story. The missile hit the altar in the Transfiguration Church. It's very symbolic, and it's destroyed the building. During the day, people were coming and cleaning everything. They were making the service outside of the cathedral. And we are so resilient, but where is the age of this resilience? How long will it continue? Russia is proving that the main goal of Russia is to kill and to frighten the civilians, to frighten the Ukrainians. And we don't have to talk about Russian spirituality. It's just a bunch of lies. The largest Orthodox church in the city is destroyed. Also, 5 kindergartens, 4 schools, 2 educational institutions damaged as a result of this attack. And the only tradition that Russia has is to follow the traditions of cannibalistic totalitarian regimes. I'm a tour guide and that was very emotional for me to know that the cathedral is now, it doesn't exist anymore. And just to tell you the story, it's painful to understand that when some Other countries are just protecting their heritage, not allowing the tourists even to step on the grass close to the cathedrals. Here, it's so simple to just demolish everything. And I'm sure that Putin will look now to the reaction of the world. Will it be any kind of reaction? Will the world step out and say, no, it's not possible, it's not the right way? I hope that the world will step out and just let Putin know that it is not possible to behave like that. Something needs to be done altogether. Thank you for watching, thank you for supporting me, thank you for buying me coffees. Slava Ukraini. See you next time.